Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gotcha. I'm your Lower Paxton Township Manager, and in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief overview of tonight's agenda, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home this evening on their televisions. Within new business, the board will appoint Mr. Richard Wayne to the Township Shade Tree Commission. Second, the board will be presented Resolution 20-06, confirming the township's desire to be exempted from the noise regulations of the Pennsylvania Liquor Code. Third, under new business, the board will consider adopting amendment number 1 to the standing underground facilities locating and marking service agreement, furthering the township's ongoing compliance with the Pennsylvania One Call provisions. Next, the board will consider a roadway improvement agreement for the Autumn Oaks development and Resolution 20-08, approving of the acceptance of roadways within the Amber Fields development, both McNaughton home communities. Lastly, under new business, and to round out the evening, the board will take action to pay township and authority bills. And with all that said, the township members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gotchell. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order, and would like to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mrs. Lindsay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The comma returned. We will now move to approval of minutes of the meeting of November 12th, 2019 budget meeting and the November 12th, 2019 workshop meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 12th, 2019 workshop minutes and the November the 12th, 2019 budget workshop meeting minutes.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Is everybody's devices now working?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. With that, I would like to announce that prior to this meeting, the Board of Supervisors met to receive information from the Township Manager, and following the meeting, we will receive additional information from the Township Manager. With that, we'll move on to public comment. This is the time set aside for public comment on any item not on the agenda tonight. For items on the agenda, we'll have public comment at that time. So would any member of the public like to address the board on an item not on the agenda tonight? It being the first Tuesday of the month. Mr. Murphy, good evening.
I would hate not to come for the first Tuesday of the month. But I have a very exciting announcement. This Thursday, we're going to have a veteran of 55 years with the Linglestown Fire Company #1 come and give us the history of the fire department. This gentleman has served as a chauffeur of the trucks, as an EMT, and as a fireman for those years. He has kept the history of the fire department going, and we're lucky enough to have him serve on our historical commission. Mr. Minsker, who I got the great pleasure of seeing the presentation this last week, has put together an amazing show. So I'm hoping that the audience and some of the supervisors will be able to attend and see how Linglestown started and find some real surprises that I don't think any of us knew about. He's also going to have a nice exhibit of memorabilia from the fire department. So this should be a very interesting evening. I have been promised the ice will be gone, maybe a little drizzle, but plenty of free parking. Thank you.
What time again is the meeting?
6:30 Thursday in this room at the community center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will look forward to that, being very familiar with Mr. Minsker's work. I'm sure this is going to be a fascinating presentation. I'm going to try to say that 3 times fast, Bill. Would anybody else like to address the board on an item not on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll now go to chairman and board member comments. Board members, do we have any comments this evening? Robin?
We've had quite a few house fires the past couple days in the township, so if you could please keep those residents in your thoughts and prayers. And it's not too late to sign up for the Citizens Police Academy on February 24th.
Very good. Mr. Zimmes?
Other than Mr. Chrisman is a little under the weather this evening, we hope that he's feeling better soon.
Yes. Mr. Judd? Okay. With that, manager's report. Mr. Godshall?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As the board is aware, the township received, on behalf of the 3 volunteer fire companies, the 2019 FEMA SAFER grant, which earmarks $384,250 for advertising and costs associated with recruitment efforts, recruitment and retainment efforts. With such grant, the 3 companies worked together to create a combined website, lowpaxfire.org, which I will have up here in the background, and also social media accounts that are combined for all 3 companies in order to promote fire suppression, prevention, and recruitment activities. So that is exciting news, and it shows a good faith effort among the 3 companies to work together very well on this grant and to provide excellent fire coverage to the residents of Lower Paxton Township. Additionally, the 2020 census continues to work along the Census Bureau's intended timeline. This morning, the township hosted a meeting of the Dauphin County Complete Count Committee, where DCED shared news of a recently received allocation from within the Commonwealth's budget of approximately $4 million, which will assist local organizations and municipalities with strengthening their efforts to provide for a complete count of our residents. From the $4 million, the Commonwealth will also be awarding $1 million in grant funding to again, local organizations and municipalities to help bolster such activities, from which a maximum grant award of $50,000 may be received. The Dauphin County Complete Count Committee will be applying for this grant of up to $50,000 for aid from help with partnering entities and municipalities, of which Lower Paxton is one. So we hope that grant submission is done timely and will allow the committee to receive funds to help bolster our efforts here in Lower Paxton Township and across the county as well.
Very good. Do you know offhand, we have a new fire apparatus, which is going to be arriving. Do we know when the first truck is going to, I seem to recall February or March was, do you recall offhand? If you don't,
I do
that's
not
okay.
know the date, but yeah, the first piece should be arriving soon.
Soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The director was out in Wisconsin taking a tour of the facility again and making sure everything is on track, so she'll be receiving soon.
Good, good. Always exciting. Okay, with that, we have no old business, so we will move on to new business. The first item is to take action to appoint Mr. Richard Wayne to the Shade Tree Commission. Is there a motion?
Is Mr. Wayne here tonight?
There he is.
There he is.
Would you like to have him come to the podium and say a couple of words?
Yes.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you would like. We had an opportunity to read your resume and background, which was very impressive for this particular position.
Thank you. First off, Amanda approached me, and you can thank Amanda. She was instrumental in having me apply, and so thank you, Amanda. We'll be working together, and I just hope I can assist and make a difference on the commission and come up with some new ideas,
Very good.
if appointed.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering.
Real quick question, can your work experience with National Geographic,
Yes.
what did you do there? It looked really interesting.
31 years with National Geographic, and I was a production manager, so I interfaced with the editorial design and illustration group, as well as then all the pre-press vendors, printing, quality control, everything to do with what you see on the newsstand or in bookstores.
That was interesting. Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was an adventure, and plus you got to meet some really neat people, writers, photographers, and hear a lot of stories.
Before the internet, that was the
well
way we.
before the
That's the way
internet.
we saw the world,
Yes.
and those wonderful photos.
Yes.
That sounds exciting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Richard Wayne to the Shade Tree Commission.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any public question or comment? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, we need to have the first presentation of Resolution 2020-06, confirming the township's desire to be exempt from provisions of Section 493-34 of the Liquor Code. Mr. Godshall, would you like to explain what that's all about?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So in response to some public desire and input, the solicitor and township staff have drafted Resolution 20-06, which simply allows the township to petition the Commonwealth's Liquor Control Board for an exemption from the noise regulations of the Liquor Control Board. Any further technical questions or commentary would be best directed towards Mr. Stein.
And I might add, replace those regulations with our own noise ordinance that is part of our zoning ordinance.
Which is already in place.
It is.
Yes. Okay.
And these are drafts. They'll probably go through some changes before we would, the board would adopt the resolution, and then I would file the petition with the attachments that go along with that.
And so that would bring enforcement to us locally.
Correct.
Okay, good. Any other board questions?
Is this where we advertise in the Sun now?
We don't do any advertising.
We don't have to
Not the
put this out
you
to
don't
the
have to
public.
advertise the resolution. Now, at some point in time, after the petition is filed, the Liquor Control Board will actually advertise a hearing
Okay,
on the petition, and the hearing will most likely be held in this room.
Thank you for clarifying
Yep,
that.
you're welcome.
And Steve, that'll be held during a regular meeting or a separate?
I don't know. I think the Liquor Control Board will just pick a date and time and come here and hold the hearing.
Okay.
Okay. Any public questions or comments? Okay, that was simply first presentation, so no action will be taken this evening. We'll move on then to item C, where we do need to take action on amendment number 1 to the Underground Facilities Locating and Marketing Services Agreement. Mr. Godshall?
Yes, sir. Before members of the board this evening is amendment number 1 to the standing agreement between the township and USIC Locating Services, LLC. This amendment will allow USIC to perform emergency PA1 calls, which typically are done after hours for the township, which formerly were handled by sewer department union staff. As you will see in your packet, members of the union have signed a letter agreeing to the change in this service delivery. Further of importance is the potential of some cost savings to the township. So taking an average number of after-hour PA1 call tickets for the township per year and applying the township labor costs, such as overtime rate plus some other contractual call-out minimums and things like that, the township approximates savings of approximately $11,750 annually through the adoption of this agreement. So good news all around.
Very good. Board member questions?
So, just for the public, so these one calls is when digging and construction is getting underway, and we need someone to go out and identify or verify all the lines?
Correct.
Utility lines?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And there are the markings you'll see on the roadway and sidewalks and things like that.
And this is for, this deals with after hours?
Correct. Yep. So-
Okay, just so we identify what this
Correct.
one-call thing is
Yeah.
for people.
And I actually commend the union staff for bringing forward this agreement and, allowing us to find further cost savings and efficiencies to this, service delivery.
Right, that's a good point.
Yes.
Mhm. Any other board member questions?
See, staff is in agreement.
Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, that we accept Amendment 1 to the Underground Facilities Locating and Marketing Service Agreement with USIC Locating Services LLC, with the following price per hours underneath there.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll now move to our subdivision and land development plans, and we have 2 items there. The first of which will be action on a roadway improvement agreement between Lower Paxton Township and the McNaughton Company in conjunction with the Autumn Oaks preliminary plan. And Mrs. Zerby is here. Good evening.
Good evening. This is the agreement between McNaughton Homes and Lower Paxton Township for roadway and park improvements associated with the Autumn Oaks development. In December 2017, the board agreed to accept alternative improvements to the original agreement that was approved in 2008. At this time, the agreement appropriately reflects what the township requested the developer to provide. Joel McNaughton of McNaughton Homes is here with us this evening to discuss the agreement in greater detail.
Great. Mr. McNaughton, if you would come to the podium, please.
Good evening, Joel McNaughton with the McNaughton Company. Happy to do whatever you'd like me to do. I can add to that summary and go through the agreement in detail or answer any questions that you might have, just whatever your desires are at this point.
Okay.
I guess someone should talk a little bit about the proposed improvements.
So I can do that. The improvements that will be provided are alternative improvements to roadway. So the approval of the Autumn Oaks preliminary plan associated with that was an agreement for some roadway improvements through time and up through the approval of that plan through 2017 through multiple discussions. It was ultimately determined that there may be a better way to provide those improvements, that being a public park facility. So we've designated about 32 acres of the Autumn Oaks site to provide, to construct and dedicate a public park to the township, which will include access drive and parking lot, parking for about 45 cars, about 2,400 feet of a walking trail, a 15 by 30 foot picnic pavilion, a playground that includes 2 play structures, a 3-bay swing set, and 2 additional play structures, all of which meet various ADA requirements, and also 2 pickleball courts will be provided at this park. And then an area, a several acre area that'll be graded and landscape grass planted. That'll be just a large multi-purpose field. It could be used for, baseball, soccer, football, kind of whatever. The idea being to provide maximum flexibility. Though that's the sort of the quick overview of the parkway improvements. We're also replacing the current culvert underneath Patton Road at Paxton Creek. There it is there. Currently, there's I'm not even sure what it is. It's an old corrugated metal pipe. It's rusted. It's very degraded. We're taking that out and replacing it with a concrete box culvert. Longevity, better water flow. We're increasing the width a little bit to provide for potential future sidewalk extensions. So all around, I think a series of positive improvements for the township at large, the residents of Autumn Oaks, and that whole sort of north of Linglestown Road corridor of the township.
Joe, I know we wrestled with that culvert for a couple of years. So by replacing that, there's not going to be any water that's going to come back up on the road or anything. That'll take care of that.
So the culvert the concrete box culvert has more capacity than what's there now. In certain storm events, beyond the capacity of this. I don't remember that number. I don't know if Mr. Hines does or not, but certain storm events still could overtop the road, but much, much better than the condition that exists now.
And how many acres is the whole facility there where the park is?
30 acres, 29.235.
That's definitely an asset to that area back there, so thank you for doing that.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's certainly great enhancements to the community, and again, thanks for doing that. Do you anticipate when this will be completed?
So the agreement requires the park improvements to be completed by, I think it's the end of July of this year.
No. And whose responsibility is it to maintain the park?
So once it's completed, it'll be dedicated to the township and become part of the overall park network, and be the township responsibility to maintain after dedication.
Okay.
Nice.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments from the public? Yes, if you would please come to the podium and give us your name and address.
I'm Ann Wayne, 2397 Via Toscana. We walk, Joe, Mr. McNaughton, we walk around that area, and we were just noticing the other day that, I'm just hoping you can clarify, there was supposed to be a walking trail, and so you used to be able to come through from the cul-de-sac at the very end of the estates of Autumn Oaks, and you could come back out, and you went across a nice bridge that goes over, I believe it's Paxton Creek there. And one of the residents has put in a huge swimming pool, and so the trail now ends at their swimming pool. And their pool blocks public access to come back out onto, is it Colonial Road? I'm just curious as to why that pool was allowed to go in and block but maybe the trail wasn't really finalized or something. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, so that trail was never intended, never constructed to be a public trail. It was built at the time when Autumn Oaks opened. There was an event there called the Street of Dreams, and that trail was built to allow people to sort of traverse their way through the site without having to walk all the way up and around. And now it's owned privately by the owner of the lot, who also built the pool.
Any other public comment or questions? Okay. Thank you, sir.
And when this is all done, will the park will have 2,300 feet of walking trail, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the agreement between Lower Paxton Township and the McNaughton Company in conjunction with the Autumn Oaks preliminary plan.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have a second item under subdivision and land development. We need to take action on resolution 2020-08, authorizing the acceptance of portions of Candlestick Court, Christians Drive, Fenway Drive, and Riverside Court. Mrs. Zerby.
Yes, that is pretty much it. You are looking at the resolution for improvements for
Your mic, Amanda. Thank you.
for roads in Amberfield Phase 8A. Staff has done all the required inspections and recommends acceptance.
Any questions, comments?
Mr. Klein knows about this?
Yes, they, HRG and
I'm
Mr.
just,
Hines
I'm
were
just
both
kidding
out.
because it's more roads for him to plow, so, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It's called job security.
We do keep adding roads to plow, don't we? And eventually resurface. So, item for discussion during budget time. Any additional board member questions, comments? Any public questions? Is there a motion then?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept Resolution 2020-08, authorizing the acceptance of portions of Candlestick Court, Christians Drive, Fenway Drive, and Riverside Court.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. And that brings us to payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we pay the bills for Lower Paxton Township Authority. We also have the Township Check Register. We have the LPT P-Card Remittance Register, October 29th, the LPT P-Card Check Register for October 29th, Authority Check Register, Lower Paxton Township Sewer P-Card Remittance for October 2019, and Lower Paxton Township Sewer P-Card Register for October 2019.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. With that, are there any additional announcements from members of the board or the township manager or the township solicitor or anybody? Seeing no additional announcements, the next meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors will be next Tuesday. This will be a workshop meeting at 7 p.m. here in this room. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
I think the police should remain until everyone leaves the room, instead of being the first ones out.